What's up guys, welcome back to another video. This one is a continuation of the last video I made on the Select Paid Gems Scout. 3,000 paid gems for one guaranteed limited unit. One of the best value banners that you will ever get, and we get that 3 times, one for a support, one for a tech, and one for a striker. So I've done the support one already, and I got the Alistair and Gorgeist because that's the only unit I didn't have out of the seasonal supports. But I recommended that you get Mallow and Appleton. We're going to now take a look at the technical units and also the striker units. As I learned from the last video, there are 11 limited scouts you can choose from. It is not just the 3 that are shown on the screen, but certainly the 3 that are shown here are all quite good. And so let's go through all the units. And if you didn't have any of the unit, if you ask me which one I would go for. So let's go through the units one by one. Mimikyu, I don't actually have her, so I can't speak for her. But based on what I've seen and read, it's an interesting unit. It does a little bit of damage, and then it does a little bit of everything, but not quite anything in particular. Nothing really broken, and it doesn't focus on any particular skill. We can see that most of the good nodes focus on trying to multiply the damage, but it's nothing crazy. Its sync move also has a multiplier in it if the opponent is confused. So it's a confusion unit that multiplies its attack power if the opponent is confused. So it does have some decent output in damage, but otherwise it's not the most broken ghost unit. Skylar, I only use her to trigger conditions and flinch. So it's more of a tech. I don't really use her otherwise. It has a number of multipliers in its grid, but it really depends on which status condition triggers, because it's quite random with try attack. It can be either burn, paralyzed, or frozen, but not all at the same time. So then your grid is going to be a bit funny. Like, how do you predict which condition gets triggered when the grid requires you to choose freeze, scorch up, or soft up, or dirty fighting? That's for flinching. And flinching as a multiplier isn't that useful. So overall, I would not pick Togekiss if you had to choose between Togekiss and something else. Sawsbuck is quite nice because it can generate terrains, and in fact it has the choice for 3 different terrains. If you're short on terrains, generally speaking, you'll be able to cover your ass with one of her the trainer move here, which is Fun Times. And then it's an interesting trigger. The terrain that it triggers depends on how many of the move gauge boost numbers you have left. So the trainer points, the move points you have left. So if you have move points, 2 of them. So if at the start of the game the battle you use Fun Times trainer move straight away, you will immediately trigger grassy terrain. If you've used the move gauge refresh once, it will trigger psychic terrain instead. And if there's 0 move points left, you'll trigger the electric terrain. Therefore, the electric terrain is the hardest to trigger because you first need to use up your move gauge boost, trainer move first, make it go to 0. So it's an interesting unit. You will be able to cover some of the terrains that you might not have or have enough of. Iris and Naga Nadel. So this is the only unit in the game that can use Poison Zone. So, and it has good damage, but not OP damage, not broken damage. Seabold Artillery, a little bit old now, this unit. It's a water unit, pretty good for burning, condition, and reducing accuracy, but otherwise not really too necessary. I do use him from time to time to do Legendary Gauntlet for his accuracy drop and burn. Dawn and Alcremie. Now, very good debuffer, but has been outclassed by Dawn and Oricorio. So between those 2, I definitely choose Dawn and Oricorio. And then we've got Serena and Whimsicott, and also debuffer as well. So she's mainly focused on reducing speed and paralysis obviously also helps reduce the speed of the opponent. Also, it has special attack drop for a 30% chance with Moonblast. So general debuffing unit, but not as good as Oricorio. And once again, we have another burn unit. So Morty will benefit from burning the opponents using Will-O-Wisp. It has several multipliers for burn condition in its grid to increase the damage output. So decent, but not broken. Then we have the Swimsuit Marnie with Grimmsnarl. So one of the very, probably, even at the time of release, it wasn't a broken unit. And it's obviously been power crept since. So it's you'd really want to have that unit to pull for that unit. It's a high cost unit and it takes a lot of turns to set up, but otherwise it does do decent damage with its fairy typing 4-bar move. That is Spirit Break. But the advantage of it is it guarantees to reduce the opponent's special attack by 1 every time it hits. On the other hand, we have Marnie and Maiwao, which is relatively good because not only can Maiwao output pretty decent damage with several multipliers in its grid, it also has a multiplier in its sync move if the zone is Steel Zone. So even at base damage, it's really good. It also has for 3 bars chance to flinch, which I do use often. And the ability to debuff. So generally good unit, but of course the main thing here is Steel Wish, which is quite limited. In fact, it is still the only Steel Wish user in this game, so giving Steel Zone. And finally we got Nessa and Ice-Q, interesting unit, a Hail unit, pretty powerful, also has flinch, but otherwise it's not, look, it's good, but it's a little bit hard to execute Ice-Q sometimes. And the reason being, its trainer move increases attack and crit by 2 and 1 respectively. So first of all, you need this to be 3, so you need it to at least refresh that move point once. On top of that, you should ideally use this after you use Hail. And that's because with Hail, you also get gradual healing for all sync pairs. So it takes about 4 turns just to set her up for max damage, but certainly is quite powerful and has a chance to flinch once you fully set her up. Just a bit difficult to do. Now, as always, the real advice here is to choose something that would fit into your teams. And actually choose a unit that covers types that you don't have fully covered. Water units are very prevalent in this game, so it makes Seabold and Octillery very, very useless, generally speaking. Ghost units, there's enough of them as well, even free units. There's always Mewtwo that you can use. But debuffing units, you can always use more of. So in this case, in this banner, I would recommend Dawn and Oricorio as the best unit to pull if you have none of these at all. But certainly shouldn't sleep on Maiwao and Marnie. That's because Steel Zone, very limited in this game, so you might want that as well to boost your Steel type damage, generally speaking. And also there was, we can't forget, the only Poison Zone user, Iris Naganadel. And now, time for my 3000 gems Sync Scout. Fingers crossed we get a bonus unit. I'm not counting on it though. I already got an extra lucky one with the support banner. Yeah, didn't think so. Well, that's alright. We'll choose a sync pair. And let's see what I'm missing. I am missing only Mimikyu. Buffland is a general pull, so ignore that. That doesn't matter. I am only missing Mimikyu and Acerola, so that is the unit that I will pull. I just like to collect units, so again, if you're going for meta, you should be going for, I believe, Dawn and Oricorio being the best one out of this list. Let's go! Alright, this video is getting a bit long, so we're gonna have to split into part 3 for the final banner, the final select scout banner with the strikers.